Dear students, the lesson of the day is going to be very interesting. We are going to learn about socialization, that is, how individuals learn to behave and live in their own societies from their infanthood till the end of their life. We are going to understand how an active process takes place in human life to shape them according to the cultural and social expectations. For instance, when you visit a foreign country or see a foreign film, you will be surprised to observe the dressing pattern, the social behavior, the food consumption and many other things that are totally different from Indian way of life. When their culture is new to you, the foreigners also feel the same way on seeing our behavioral pattern, which is quite normal for you, but very different for them. Why does these differences occur in human behavior? It is because each person is born and brought up in his own cultural and social milieu. There is a constant interaction between the individual person and his culture. This process makes you to be the right member of your own society. This is called socialization, and this is our topic for this class. First, we should know what we mean by the process of socialization. Individuals learn the culture to which they belong and become members of the society. Through socialization, individuals learn what is expected in their society. The society expects its members to adopt certain norms, behave in a specific manner and perform their roles in an established manner. The individual members gradually learn all these things by various means and become accepted members of the society. A newborn baby observes the behavior, expressions and every movement of its family members and responds to it. Socialization starts at that point itself. Then later, at every stage of his life, the person is socialized by various agencies and institutions. His personality is developed by socialization. Every society has its own culture prescribing ways of life. Societies train its people to become the accepted members, but this training will not produce stereotyped individuals. It is because the situation and experiences encountered by each individual will differ and his personality is developed differently, but in accordance with his culture. A newborn child is not familiar with its society or culture. It is only a biological organism. He becomes a socialized individual only by learning the behavior that is expected of him. He is gradually molded into a social being and learns social norms. He is socialized by the society. Men learn the rules and practices of his society. The roles he has to play in his life are indirectly taught to him by the society, so that there is no conflict of roles for individual himself and also between role players. I hope you have understood the first part of socialization. Now, I would like to give some definitions of socialization. The process of socialization is defined by sociologists, and these definitions give us a good understanding of this process. According to Bogadas, socialization is the process of working together of developing group responsibilities or being guided by the welfare needs of others. Ogburn defines that socialization is the process by which the individual learns to conform to the norms of the group. The definition of Peter Worsley explains socialization as the process of transmission of culture, the process whereby men learn the roles and practices of social groups. For Harry Johnson, it is the process by which individuals acquire the culture. Socialization process takes place at different levels. At micro level, family takes up the responsibility. It takes up the responsibility of socializing the child. The parents and other family members educate the child with proper behavior. The peer groups enable them to adjust with fellow members. At the meso level, schools socialize the children to be good citizens. They do it by inculcating social expectations, success and failures. The religious institutions enable them cultivate good faith and spirituality. The macro level economic institutions like the state and communication systems socialize them to be efficient citizens and to be accommodative to all changing circumstances. Although every individual is socialized to his own culture, we could observe variations between individuals. There is no culture programming that makes all members exactly similar to each other. Individual members are not carbon copies of the same culture. Individuals are unique in their own ways. It is because certain internal factors influence socialization process. They are reflexes, instincts, urges, capacities and comprehension. Socialization is a process by which individuals acquire and share culture. It is a process by which we learn to interact and play our roles properly. Learning to live, adjust, to be accommodative or to conflict will have to take place throughout his life, since man is always within the society leading a social life. There is no stage at which one can stop learning to live. There may be different stages in our life, but at every stage or age we have to learn new patterns, meet new people and play new roles according to the social prescriptions. At the beginning, that is at childhood, socialization takes place at home, then at adolescence and adulthood, the individual faces the external world and undergoes socialization according to his exposure. Even at the old age, new behaviors are learnt and change of behaviors are essential. Therefore, throughout life we are being socialized. This process of socialization takes place from birth to death. Socialization is a continuous process. Up to this point, I have explained to you the introduction to the process of socialization. Now, I will be explaining different types of socialization. Socialization is a continuous process that shapes the behavior of the individuals, but it is not a monotonous, single or simple process. Socialization could occur in various kinds and intensity. According to Robertson, a person undergoes 4 types of socialization. These types are primary socialization, anticipatory socialization, developmental socialization and re-socialization. The first one is primary socialization. Primary socialization takes place at the childhood. Once the baby is born, it has to be taught to eat, to sleep and to get accommodated to both the physical and social environment. Slowly it has to be taught the language, cognitive skills, cultural norms, values and the established emotional ties with family members and others. The child has to learn traits and values like right or wrong, moral or immoral and such values that are already determined by the society. The child learns them by trial and error method. The basic personality development takes place in primary socialization. The child is quite newly exposed to all situations. It is required from him to learn the basic social expectations. Family and school provide primary socialization to the child. The next one is anticipatory socialization. Individuals are socialized into a culture in which they have to take up various roles. They are gradually socialized into each basic role. Sometimes there are situations in which they try to learn the role expectations of a particular role they might play in near future. They will be playing that role for certain and therefore, even before getting into that role, they learn how they have to perform it when the actual situation arises. The socialization begins even before the actual situation commences. This process is called anticipatory socialization by Robert K. Merton. For example, a person interested in police service trains himself physically as well as mentally. Another example is a girl gets socialized for a married life even before her marriage by learning cooking and doing other household tasks. This kind of anticipatory socialization helps the individual to get into the role perfectly when the real situation arises. Actually, Merton has studied the whole concept of anticipatory socialization when he made a research work on the American soldiers and how the whole group gets anticipatory socialization whenever they want a promotion from the existing cadre to the next cadre. This is how he developed this concept of anticipatory socialization and which is now being used under several circumstances in several social research. The third one is developmental socialization. Developmental socialization is based on the primary socialization. It means that the already acquired skills and traits are strengthened or modified as the individual grows in age. As the individual progresses in life, he gets into new situations like jobs or new organizations or married life, where new obligations and expectations emerge. Under these circumstances, new learning process takes place and adds or blends or modifies the already learnt values. This helps the development of the individual. An example may be quoted for developmental socialization. A medical student is socialized for his profession even while he is doing the course. After the completion of the course, he starts working in some hospital. While doing his course, he was socialized in a particular manner, but after getting into the hospital as a doctor, he is slowly socialized to play all the roles he had learnt earlier in a perfect manner. And after few years as a doctor, he learns to play the role in a perfect manner and the role play gets strengthened, and this helps in the development of the individual. The fourth type of socialization is called re-socialization. Socialization is a never ending process. It occurs continuously, but there are many occasions under which we have to re-socialize ourselves. We might change our membership groups, or we may migrate to a new cultural group. At these events, we have to unlearn what we learnt earlier and re-socialize our thought process and behavior in order to be accommodated in the new group. Re-socialization takes place when a social role is radically changed or when there is mobility. For example, the kind of learning expected from the girl in her husband's family, that is the family of orientation. She might have learned so many things in her parents' family, but when the place and the situations are different in her husband's family, she has to forget what all she has learned in her parents' family, in her native place, by relearning what is expected from her new situation. She has to modify or totally strip off what she learnt in her mother's family. Another example of re-socialization is when professionals find jobs in some other country where the culture is entirely different than his own. For example, when the child is born, it is only the daughter of the family. It is the daughter for the parents. After a few years, the parents might get the second child. At that point of time, the first child becomes the sister. Now, she learns to play the role of a sister. This child is not only the sister of another child, but also the granddaughter and also a cousin. So, she has to learn the role of a granddaughter, the role of a cousin, as it is expected in the family. So, she learns all these roles in a very subtle manner, so that in her life she could play it without any conflicting of roles. Now, students, the first part of socialization is complete now. In this class, I explained to you the process of socialization with some definitions. Then I explained to you different types of socialization, namely the primary socialization, the anticipatory socialization, the developmental socialization and re-socialization. Actually, students, this is not the end of socialization process. This is only an introduction. The actual interesting part of it will be taught to you in the next class. It will include the theories of socialization and how we develop the concept we call as the self. Dear students, now I will ask you few questions. Explain socialization process. Give 3 definitions of socialization. Explain anticipatory socialization with an example. With these questions, I complete this lesson.